Global chat has questions and I have answers. Are the servers wiping? Where do I get cotton? Does copper even exist? Let's get into 10 of the questions global chat asks the most in Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 Phase 2. Question number 1. When will teleports get implemented? There is no news on when fast travel will be implemented yet, and it's important to note that the fast travel options will be limited even when they release. At the village tier there will be some sort of ground mount automatic travel, and higher tier nodes will have access to flight paths. Scientific metropoli will even be able to teleport within their vassal network. Steven mentions this in his October 2022 AMA.
The very basic building that you'll have access to starting at a node village stage of 3 is to jump on one of your land mounts if you have a land mount, pay a fee, and take a faster route to a nearby node. Now, you can upgrade that building at later stages, and that can now become a flight path as well. And that flight path can have longer direct connections to other nodes that also have a flight path upgrade. In addition, we have scientific nodes that when a metropolis is achieved, provide within network of that metropolis's vassal structure, the ability to teleport to nodes as well.
I'll link the full AMA in the description, as Steven puts more words on the flavor and lore of it, as well as touching on many other interesting subjects. I couldn't find a source for the idea that you won't be able to fast travel with the resources on you, but I would be surprised if they allowed this, given the importance of logistics in a game like this. This might create tension and feel annoying, but it's an important part of the social sandbox experience. By forcing travel, they force encounters with other players, which fosters potential for PvP. Also, without fast travel, attacking nodes becomes harder with distance, making it harder for multiple guilds the continent over to gang up on a single location, as well as other forms of griefing. Thor says it pretty well in his catchphrase, "Distance is defense." Question number 2. When can I ignore someone? In Phase 2 the game added the social tab with a friends and ignore list, standard hotkey O. However, you can also quickly ignore people by writing /ignore followed by the name of the character directly into chat. A useful feature for people spamming in global chat. Most actions can be done the same way, /invite character name to group invite people, /whisper character name to whisper someone, and there are emotes as well, /bow, /wave, and so on. And of course the most important command, /bug to quickly open the bug report window for every time you find a tear in reality, an unharvestable tree, or the like. Question 3. Where do you get cotton? Unlike Snowdrop, Daffodil, and Flax, you currently can't find cotton in the wild. The only way to get it is by purchasing seeds from a farming vendor like this one, and then using those seeds with droppings in a farming station like this one. The vendors can be found at agricultural suppliers. If no city node has built one on your server yet, you can buy the seeds at this one, west of Lionhold. The farming workbenches can be found in every city node. You can also make flax through this process instead of looking for it in the wild. The rarity you get out will be dependent on the quality of droppings you put in. Question 4. What are good places to farm gear early? This question is a bit of a tricky one, because I could simply say what armor type do you want and then send you towards goblins for light armor, bandits for medium armor, and undead for heavy armor. Later you'll be able to look at the class of the mob, and they'll generally drop the gear they look like they drop, light for casters, heavy for tanks, and so on. But early on, goblins, bandits, and undead are a decent way to separate it. However, while that answer is true, it's also misleading. The drop rates on early mobs are very low. I tried to get footage of getting drops on a newly made character to fill this answer, and while a ring dropped, there were no actual core gear pieces dropping. The chances of a gear drop, however, should be between 2 and 4%, as Steven mentioned in this interview with Yokai Theater 3 months ago.
So you can expect that, like, when you think about whole item drops right now off of mobs, it's anywhere from like 2 to 4% chance on an individual mob kill that it might drop a completed item. But the majority of those cases are going to be basic, white, low quality items that get dropped, essentially.
Link in the description for that interview, of course. And adding to this, you should be within 5 levels to actually see those numbers, while you will see no loot at all if you're 9 levels above the target, as Steven mentioned on his Q&A stream about a month ago.
You are most ideal if you're within, I believe, 5 levels of the monster that you're killing, party average. However, if anybody in your party is over 9 levels higher than the monster, then the drops in the experience do not occur.
and another link to the list. So if you want to optimize your gearing strategy by pure monster hunting, it would seem that finding monsters about 4 levels beneath you is optimal to get the most kills per minute. You should then statistically see a drop about every 50 kills at least. However, I'd suggest looking for multiple sources for gearing. You can get some common gear upgrades from the standard village merchants for a bag of silver. If you make sure to go look up mayoral commissions in the village nodes and then pick up the ones with kill requirements, those will reward you with requisition currency that you can then use at a node vendor to purchase green level 10 gear. And of course, as the server progresses, people will likely have cheap early gear for sale at the marketplace. So my suggestion is to spread out your efforts and avoid being reliant on monster drops. Question 5. How do you drag things off your action bar? Open your skill menu. While it's open, you can drag around your abilities. It's quite the clunky solution, but I bet we'll see a better system once they're done with the core systems and moving on to making UI improvements. Probably for the beta. Question 6. Where do I get Artisan certifications? Artisan certifications can be upgraded in one of these 8 places once you reach the level requirement. It's free at the recording of this video. Each location has a foreman NPC that can certify a couple of relevant certifications. As the city nodes build up, you will also be able to obtain certifications there. For example, a woodworks in the city node will allow you to certify lumberjacking, lumber milling and carpentry, just like the lumber foreman at the natural woodworks where you certify but can't make apprentice tools. The woodworks is in the eastern clump of profession buildings near Briarmore Farms. Here you will also find cooking, fishing and hunting at the cookhouse. Mining, stonemasonry and jewelry can be found at the stoneworks. And arcane engineering, scribing and alchemy at the laboratory. Moving west of Lionhold to this cluster of buildings here on the map, we find weaponsmithing, armor smithing and metalworking at the smithy, leatherworking and tanning at the hideworks, weaving and tailoring at the textile mill, and finally herbalism, farming and animal husbandry at the agricultural supply. Once the city nodes have workshops, you'll be able to build tools at their tables and certify them there. I'll quickly show you how to identify which city node has which workshop on your server by using Lyneth as an example. Starting with New Ayla, I can zoom in and find a bunch of icons. The ones you can craft tools and certify professions at all share this light blue color and have the same names as the stations I mentioned above. So the hidework in New Ayla is for leatherworking and tanning, while the textile mill is for weaving and tailoring. I can do the same for any other city. Jova has stoneworks and a smithy. Halcyon has an agricultural supply and a cookhouse. Winsted has 2 wood shops, which gives lumber millers a lot of space to process their stuff. Mirrorless has a smithy and a laboratory. Remember that this setup is decided by the mayor, so if you're not on Lyneth, the setup you see might look completely different. Question 7. What is the going rate for insert gathered good? This is a hard one. The alpha economy still fluctuates a lot, and the current system for selling goods is a marketplace in each city node where each player's stall is a separate tab. This decentralization makes it hard to get a full overview. Currently, if you're trying to sell, the best way to do it in my experience is to search the marketplace for the name of the good you want to sell. Let's say basalt. Then flip through each stall that offers the good and keeping track of the lowest price. Then put up your own good either at the same price or a small amount less. Remember to name your shop after the good you're currently selling, since the marketplace search only finds shop and player names, not actual goods inside the shops, which is something I hope they'll update, especially for the sake of the buyer. If you're asking to see how much it'll cost to buy, it really depends. While legendary copper will often cost more than a gold each, sometimes someone puts it up for 20 or 30 silver each. If you want to make sure you find the best price, you have to go to each city node and search the entire marketplace. We'll look forward to a better search system. Quality of life wise, a right-in drop-down bar with each resource and a separate one for each rarity like in the crafting stations would be the GOAT. Question 8. When will the servers wipe? Steven said that the servers won't wipe before the full release if they can help it at all. This is likely because the influx of new players between phase 2 and 3 getting into the game, already inhabited by high-level players, will create a lot of valuable data on the new player experience and how that will form organically over time in the future. You can hear Steven say it for himself in this AMA livestream from August 2024.
It was said that Alpha 2 would run until launch. And then we had stated that there may be an end date, so they're saying there is an end date, ? And this kind of fits in line with the next one, which is what is going on with the PTR? Is Alpha 2 access going to then result in the PTR access, and how is that going to work?
Alpha 2 is still intended to morph into the PTR. And if you have Alpha 2 access for any of the phases, you will have access to all subsequent Alpha 2 testing phases, which includes when it becomes the PTR. And Alpha 2 will run until the beta phases. Again, the idea is to take our content and feature release trains that we currently have internally and to now start moving that into a live service alpha 2 as we see those updates come on that 6-week cadence. And yeah, hopefully that
so
answers your
it
question.
will run alongside with beta 1 and beta 2.
That's correct.
So when
Yes.
alpha 2 ends, beta 1 will start, and then you'll kind of see that phase, that those realms will change it to be kind of more of like a testing realm that you can see content that's coming out the line.
Link in the description to this too, of course. PTR is the public test realm, so our current characters on the alpha build should keep being playable all the way up to release with no wipes. However, as the beta arrives, the current servers will become experimental as new, fresh servers open up for the beta. So I'll probably jump over there and play on a beta server, but you'll be able to keep playing on your current character all the way up to launch unless something unexpected happens and forces Intrepid to reset the servers. Question 9. How do I turn PvP on off? Easy to do when you know the keybind. You can either hold down Alt to temporarily turn it on, or you can press Alt plus F to toggle it on until you turn it off again. It's as simple as that. Question 10. Where do I find copper, zinc, basalt, etc.? Generally, the most attractive places are along ledges and rocky surfaces. In a recent patch, the developers added a small percentage chance of getting rare novice materials from each harvest of granite and basalt. Most nodes still seem to follow the respawn timers of 30 minutes for granite and basalt and 2 hours for copper, zinc, rubies, tin, and so on, even after the update. Thus, my strategy would be to find a location along a rocky ledge with a lot of granite and basalt. I'd follow this vein around until I spotted a rare node, such as copper. When I harvested the copper node, I'd make a note of the time it was harvested and where I harvested it so that I could make sure to get back there for the respawn and get the node again. As you farm, you'll spot more locations where copper spawns and be able to add them to your route. And should you want to get any rare ore in the future, you could stand in front of any of these potential spawns. Within 2 hours, it should spawn for you. However, it might have shuffled to a different type of spawns, which seems to happen about every 24 to 48 hours. All the testing I did and my conclusions in depth can also be seen in this video. Just be aware that the video was made before the recent changes, and there seem to be some added randomness to some nodes since then. Take the fundamentals as good, but the details with a grain of salt. Thus is the alpha life.